Is visiting the Maldives one of your dream bucket list destinations? If so, keep listening to hear how you can make that dream a reality.
Welcome to the Travel Hacking Mom Show. We are three moms who've discovered how to leverage credit card welcome offers to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in travel expenses for nearly free. We've used credit card points and miles to take vacations to places like Hawaii, Paris, Greece, the Maldives, Italy, and so much more. And the best part? We each still have an 800 plus credit score. Imagine being able to book a vacation without having to check your bank account. It's totally possible, and we're here to show you how.
Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Pam, Alex's mom. We are travel hacking moms. As you can tell, Jess isn't here with us today, but Alex and I are super excited to be able to talk with you all about how to visit the Maldives on points.
So, as you can tell, my voice does not sound so great. So, I apologize to all of you that you have to listen to me talk like this. Um, Ideally, we would wait until I didn't sound so terrible, but we would get behind schedule and we figured the show must go on. So, the Maldives was my ultimate travel hacking goal. To me, that was like the pinnacle of the trips. Like that was the number one thing on my bucket list. And I never thought it would actually be possible or at least be possible maybe till someday I had retired and saved up enough money to do it. But thanks to travel hacking, I was able to make that possible. Literally a dream vacation come true. So we hope after listening today that you can see that whatever bucket list vacation dream you have, that travel hacking can help you make that possible. So let's get into it first, Mom. Why don't you tell us a little about the Maldives? I know when I told people I was going there, a lot of people were like, well, where is that? Or, some people haven't heard of it. So kind of tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, I just got back from there. I mean, we're talking about barely got back for my second visit, and I got home 2 nights ago. And don't think my husband, I went back a second time because I had gone the first time with my daughter, Lindsay, that lives in Europe. And then my husband, who we always call Mr. Reluctant Traveler because he doesn't like to travel as much, said, "Oh, I'd kind of like to go to the Maldives." So we just got back from there. And the funny thing is, I don't think he had a clue where it was. He kept thinking it was off Nicaragua or off these other places. I don't think he had a clue.
Did he know when you got on the plane how long you were gonna be flying for?
He did know, he
Okay,
did know,
okay.
and it is a long
It's
flight.
very long.
Yeah. So the Maldives is a nation of islands in the Indian Ocean. It's off India is kind of how the easiest way for me to think about where it is. It's below India along the equator. The weather's warm there. It's very, very nice. There are actually 1,192 islands, but only 200 of them are inhabited. Now, that's some people just live there and they make their home there. And then many of the islands are home to resorts. And it's not like there's multiple resorts on these islands. Usually there's just one resort on an island, and it's seriously, you feel like you've gone to a deserted island and you're there alone. It's like it's incredible.
Yeah, like the entire island is the resort.
Yes.
Like when we went, we could literally like walk around the entire island. It was pretty small. It was really cool.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And the water there is gorgeous. Turquoise, crystal clear. We could look down at the water without even snorkeling and see sand sharks and colorful fish. They have amazing reefs. So it is known as one of the very best places to snorkel. That's what my husband came away with from this trip is he said it is without a doubt, hands down, the best snorkeling he's ever done. And he's done a lot of snorkeling in Hawaii and Mexico and different places, but he was amazed at how just incredible the snorkeling was. The peak time to visit the Maldives is probably November to April. So we went right after Thanksgiving. So it was a really, really good time. I think we had our first day that we got there, there was a little bit of rain and maybe an hour of rain here and there, but it was pretty darn spectacular. So, like Alex said, it's a long ways to get to the Maldives. So, let's talk a little bit about how you can get to the Maldives. Just be prepared. It's not for the faint of heart when it comes to flying.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not, and having done it, even on the way there, I remember thinking, "Oh, wow, is this gonna be worth this, or are we ever gonna come back here?" But then once we'd been home for a couple of months, I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go back there." And now I'm like, "I could go back every year." You kind of forget.
Kind of like having a baby.
Totally.
You
That's
totally
exactly
forget.
what I was thinking. Yeah. So, when we went, we flew Qatar Airways. We booked through American Airlines for 70,000 points each in business class. So that's how we flew home. We actually flew Emirates business class there. But since we've gone, Emirates has raised the points price and the taxes and fees. So it's just not a good option anymore. It's very, very pricey. So Qatar is my favorite way to do it. So the only way to get American Airlines miles, though, is by opening up American Airlines cards. So we had my husband and I had each opened, um, 1 or 2, I forget exactly, um, but how they can be really hard to find, and sometimes you won't find them. So I definitely recommend booking out in advance. When you're looking, you wanna use on the American Airlines website, you wanna use the whole calendar, so you can select calendar and you can see the whole month view. You can also search out of multiple airports. So Qatar flies out of a lot of different airlines in the US, which is really nice. So it gives you more options. What I really like about doing this through American Airlines is this doesn't always work out, but in my situation, it did where we didn't have to book a positioning flight. So we did it flying home. So we went from Male to Doha to Dallas. And then from Dallas to Salt Lake City, they put us on an American Airlines plane. So that worked out really, really great. So that's my biggest tip is to use that calendar. And if you're not finding flights, just search from a different airport. You can search like Seattle, Boston, New York. There's a bunch of them. Um, so how I did it though is when I was looking for my flights, I couldn't find a flight that started in Male and then went to Dallas. It was they didn't have the business class option from Male to Doha, and that's a shorter flight. I wanna say it's maybe 4.5 or 5 hours. Does
Mhm.
that sound right, Mom?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so they didn't have any business class flights left for that, but I could find business class Doha to Dallas and then continued on to Salt Lake. So what I did is I found Doha to Salt Lake City, booked that on points. Then I found Male, and that was in business class. Then I found Male to Doha economy. I put that on hold. Then I called AA, American Airlines, and I had them combine that reservation. So I was paying the same price, the 70,000 points. I just wasn't getting business class on that front end, the shorter flight, but I was fine with that. If I hadn't called them to combine it, I could have just booked it myself, but that just would have cost me more points. So that's a nice tip to know if you're not finding it all the way through is to, look for Doha to Male as a separate flight, and then you can merge them. So that's how we did it. Um, Another option to book Qatar is you can book it through British Airways for 85,000 points. And you can also book it just through Qatar through 85,000 points. Both of those programs use Avios, so you can move your points between those two programs. And the nice thing is Chase, Amex, and Capital One all transfer to British Airways and City transfers to Qatar. So if you don't have American Airlines miles, this is another option. It's a lot easier to earn Chase, Amex, Capital One points than it is to earn AA because you have so many more options for those cards. So That's like my go-to way to do it, and if you ideally, you wanna be in the Q suite. That is their business class. It's amazing. I know you just did it, mom. What did you think?
I thought it was so amazing. First of all, the last time that I went to the Maldives, I had had that booked also. I had done it the same way that you did, although for the economy from Malé to, Doha, I had paid a little bit in cash for an economy plus seat, which are really good seats,
Yeah,
really
we
nice.
actually did that too, and they for some reason, it was very strange. They let me upgrade to that one, and I didn't have to pay, but I had to pay for Mitch's.
Oh,
I don't know,
interesting.
there was some glitch in the system or something, but
Yeah.
it was really nice, like, the seat reclined,
Oh,
so you were, like,
they're
in a
really
recliner
nice.
seat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you had to do premium economy and you couldn't do business, their premium economy is I would say is better than a lot of other
Oh,
premium
I
economy.
think so too, and, there are seats for just 2 people on the side, and so that makes it nice, so whoever you're
Yeah,
traveling with. Now, I had a real disappointing experience my first time, though, because I got to Doha, got on my flight, I'm so excited, I'm going to get on Q Suites, this is gonna be so awesome. Unbeknownst to me or anybody else that was in business class, they switched out the plane at the last minute. And so it was a, configuration of 2 people on the side, so I was next to someone I didn't know, it was not the Q suites. I did not have direct access to the aisle, which I hate if you're not with someone that you don't
and that
know.
is a long
It's a
flight.
long flight, so every time I had to go to the bathroom, I had to step over this guy's legs. He was so nice, but still, I was such a disappointment. So on this last trip that I was going on, I had actually couldn't find Q suites for, we went a different way going, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I couldn't find Q suites, but looking at a using AA points, I was able to book a British Airways flight that was gonna go have a stopover in London. I was gonna see my daughter for just a few hours, and then we were gonna come home. And then at the last minute, I mean, we're talking about a week or 2 before we're leaving, it came out that there was more Q Suite availability, and that's one of the things that I love so much about points and miles is that if you have to change things, I could cancel that flight. I got those points back immediately. I didn't cancel until I found my Q Suite availability, and then I canceled and I hurried up and booked it, and so I finally got to fly on Q Suites this, last time, and it was really, really nice, really great service, good food, and when you're going that long from Doha, we went from Doha to Boston. It was about 14 hours, and that's just a long flight, and it's just really nice to be able to shut those doors. You're kind of in your own little room, not quite like Singapore suites were, but it was pretty nice. And so I finally did get to, make that flight a reality. So another, airline, the way that we used to get over there this time is we use Singapore Airlines, and Singapore Airlines to me is hands down the best airline for service. You can hardly clear your throat and have them not say, "Can I get you something? What do you need?" I mean, they're amazing, and they're gorgeous. The flight attendants are so beautiful. My husband and I kept talking about how gorgeous they are. Their makeup is flawless. They have such nice uniforms, very Asian
Yeah, their
looking,
dresses are really pretty.
really nice, and even the males are just they all look like models. But they're beautiful, but they are so kind and their service is impeccable. It is really great. One of the nice things about Singapore Airlines is, again, all 4 major banks transfer to Singapore, so it's really easy to get, points and miles for there. Now, I will tell you that they are a little bit more expensive to fly to when you're going to the Maldives. Saver Awards are about 123,000. I did not find any of those for our dates, so I paid 149,000 points. That's a lot of points. That's almost double what you pay if you can find the Q suites through AA. With this, we could have had a free stopover in Singapore. That was the plan initially, but my husband had, ended up going to Cuba on a fishing trip right before then. We just decided that we didn't need him doing that much extra traveling. He's a little bit of the reluctant traveler, and we wanna keep him happy, so he'll travel with me more often. Now, economy class is a lot less. It's 51K, if you find the Saver Awards, or 85K, if you don't find them, if you find the regular,
Mom, do you feel like those other awards, the 149 that you paid, are those more readily available? Like, are they easy to find or are they still kinda
you
tricky?
know what? They're still tricky.
Okay.
One of the things is that you'll see sometimes when you go on their site, you will see that flights are, it says waitlisted. And that means that
Yeah.
they've, kind of covered the award seats or space that they have at that time. But if someone cancels or if something opens up, then you're on the wait list. That isn't my ideal way to travel. I don't want any surprises. I want that business class seat.
Yeah, well, and you don't wanna, because what you have to do is you have to have the points in your account,
Exactly.
and I don't wanna have a bunch of points sitting in Singapore Airlines, and then I don't get it,
Yeah.
and then I still have my points just sitting in Singapore.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and so for me, because I open up a lot of cards, I really wanted to, just get what I wanted to. I wanted a business class seat there. I was okay paying that price. I
Yeah.
will say that I thought that, and I thought that the food was good, everything was good. Of course, the service was amazing. I thought the bed, it was interesting how it made into a bed because they kind of take it from the very back, at least on our flight, and fold it down that way. And I thought it was
Like, there's not a button you push?
no, I don't know if there the attendant did it, but it isn't like the
Oh, okay.
normal ones where you press a button and it just kinda slides forward.
Yeah,
So it was a
gotcha.
little bit different. It was comfortable, but you did have to kind of sleep at an angle to put your feet into where the feet go. So it probably wasn't the most comfortable one that I've slept on, for sleep just because of that angle, but
And where did you fly from?
we flew from San Francisco to,
Singapore?
yeah, and then to Singapore, and then from Singapore, we took another flight into Malé.
Yeah, I don't my preference is not to have angled seats as well. I really like being able to just keep my body straight.
Yes, it is
And that's
nice.
what's so nice about Q Suite is it's not angled, you just are straight.
Yeah. So I was gonna say something too.
Yeah.
Alex was talking about Qatar. It's really Qatar, and we
Yeah,
talked
I know,
yeah,
just
I know.
Americans usually call it
I
Qatar.
know. We talked to the Qatar, representatives, and we asked them, "How do you pronounce it for sure?" Because, we know as US people, we
Yeah,
always have said Qatar, but just so if you hear Qatar, just so you know, Qatar and Qatar are the same thing. It just depends where you are, where you
yeah.
live.
So
So
how did you feel like the food compared to the 2, on Singapore and Qatar or Qatar?
I don't know, I think in business class, I felt like they were both really good.
Yeah,
I didn't have any problems with either. I thought they were really good, and the cutter service was really good, but it was not anything like Singapore. Singapore is just number
yeah.
1 for me as far as service goes.
When you were on your Qatar flight, did they have as an option or did you get it, the Nutella
No,
stuffed donut?
they didn't have it, I was so
Oh, it's so
disappointed.
good.
I loved it. They did have this thing, they called it a raspberry scroll that was kinda like a raspberry cinnamon roll, I think, so that kind of took the place of that.
Oh,
So
okay.
I got it thinking it would be as good as the Nutella, is it the Nutella
Did you
donut?
have the Nutella donut on your last one?
Yes, yes.
It's so
Oh,
good, huh?
yes.
Doesn't it have come with, like, apples too?
Yes, yes. No, it's amazing. It's one of the best
Yeah,
things
so if
I've ever
you
had
are
on an
applying
airplane.
yeah, if you fly Qatar, get and they have that stuffed Nutella donut, make sure you get it. It's
Yeah,
so good.
no, it's
The
amazing.
other thing I like about Qatar is whenever you wanna eat, you can just order.
Exactly.
It's not like
It's
there's
on
set
demand.
dining, you gotta sit there and wait forever, like, "Oh, I'm so hungry, but it's not breakfast time." You just order whenever you wanna order. So I
Right.
really like that.
I felt like on my first flight on, Qatar, they stressed that more. On this one, my attendant was kind of, he said, "Well, are you ready for breakfast? And then, we're gonna serve dinner a couple hours before landing." So, it was easily written on the menu that it was on demand, you could get things whenever you wanted, but I didn't feel like they were stressing it as much on the
Yeah.
second flight.
Whereas Singapore probably would have made you very aware.
Yeah. So, once you get to Malay, it's interesting, I feel like. I think that most of the resorts do an incredible job at having someone meet you in Malay. So Malay doesn't have this huge airport. They are building a new one. It
Oh,
looks
I didn't know
really
that.
nice. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a lot better for some of you that are going to
Yeah.
travel in the next year or so. Hopefully it will be done. But
Well, they have a new lounge area, correct? Because when
right.
I was there, the lounge wasn't very good, and then I saw all these people posting, and I thought, "Wow, that's not where we went," and, like, to wait for our
Right.
seaplane.
Right. So,
So that's nice
yeah,
though.
so it's gonna be really nice. Right now, it's a little, run down and small, but they are so good, the resorts, at having someone greet you there. So they greet you with a sign, and then they take you over to the, Transmaldavian, airline site.
So th yeah, that's the
That's the
seaplanes, right?
seaplanes that take you to your resort. That's part of for almost every resort, you're gonna take a seaplane. There's some that are really close that you may take a boat, but when you factor in your costs for going to the Maldives, that's not included and, when you're using points and miles, and that can be, several $100s per person. So it's, you have to kind of think
I would
about
say
that.
several hundred is on the cheap end.
Yeah,
Like, if you get it for 500 or less, I'd say that's, like, really like, that's cheaper, and
right.
that's for 1 person, so you're gonna have to build in that expense. That's round trip, but still, it's like a 40, sometimes 30, 45-minute flight in this tiny, sketchy little airplane.
But you know what? I am pleasantly surprised by those seaplanes. Our landings and our takeoffs were really smooth. I think the thing that's interesting is you're on a different airplane because you look at the, feet of your pilots, and they're in sandals and
Mhm. They're
shorts.
wearing shorts and sandals, it's
Yes,
so
yes.
great.
And so I was a little bit nervous about taking the seaplane, but they're great. They're fine. And usually you have probably, oh, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 people on each plane. And sometimes they'll stop at one island or one resort and let some people off and then go to yours. The one that we went on this last time was from from the resort, and so it was just filled with the resort people. But when you get to the Transmaldavian area, they will take your luggage, your bigger pieces of luggage, and they tag it, and then they put you on a bus so that you go to the large lounge that you talked about, Alex. Now, some hotels have their own lounge, and the place, and I'll talk about where we stayed this last time later, which we didn't use points and miles on. We used points and miles for all of our flights. But we stayed this last time, it's called this Siam World. And I just found a really good deal on Instagram and Facebook through VIP Traveler and decided to book it so that I knew that I had an overwater villa and I was trying to make minimum spend. But they had their own lounge and it was a really nice lounge. And so there are some hotels, some resorts that have their own lounges, but you go into either that particular lounge or this big lounge where a lot of people wait, and you wait there until it's time to board. And that big lounge is actually pretty nice, and they bust you over to that large lounge. From there, you go into another room, downstairs, and you sit there for a while until it's time for them to take you out to the plane. And, it's all pretty cool.
Yeah, I felt like it was very smooth.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
they've got it down for sure. I remember waiting in the lounge, and we had to wait longer than I expected, and I was so tired, and I remember thinking, like, "Have they forgotten about us? Like, they know we're
Yes.
still here, right?"
Yes, I had that same
Because they're
thought
trying
my
to be like,
first
you know,
time.
like, island life is very relaxed and laid back. I was like, "They didn't forget about us,
Yeah,
did
I
they?"
thought
Nope,
that the
luckily
same
they
time at
haven't.
first, yeah. So,
Yeah.
like I said, this, both times I've gone, I have not used, credit card points and miles. I actually had planned we were going to, go to the Park Hyatt this time. We were going to, resort hop, but then when my husband planned this other trip to Cuba, I couldn't cancel what I paid for, but I could cancel the points and miles part.
Do afterwards, were you thinking, "Oh, we should have just stayed longer?" Did you feel like it was are you guys glad that you
Yeah,
didn't
I
do
was I
2
was
resorts?
glad, my husband isn't like someone who just likes to sit and relax by the, pool. I mean, he did a ton of snorkeling, we did paddle boarding and stuff, but it would have been too long for him, and so I was glad that we had switched it. So the first time I went, I had booked a deal on Travelzoo, and, if you go to travelzoo.com, they have these specials. We got a really good special. It was right after the pandemic, so I think it was
And you've
cheaper
done
than usual.
Travelzoo a few times, haven't you?
I have, that's how we did our African safari,
Yeah.
through Tassel Lodge, which was incredible. So, we only paid $1,600 for 2 people for this first week. It was called the resort was called Reethi Faroo. We had 2 meals a day. We had an overwater bungalow. We did have to pay for our seaplane transfers, so that added at least another $1,000 to, what we did, and I liked it. It was nice. I wasn't overly impressed with the meals. So, and that when I had taken my daughter Lindsay, we'd gone there, and so then this time, I had booked, like I said, Siam World through VIP Traveler. This was a lot more expensive. It was 4 9 let's see, almost $5,000 for 2 people. We had an overwater villa with a pool and a slide. It covered all of our food, and our food was really good. It covered 1 activity and all seaplane transfers. So, the service was amazing, the food was better, they had a lot of, non-motorized, things you could do, like kayaks and paddle boards and stuff. One of the things you can do in if this is you wanna go this route, if you don't wanna use, all points and miles for your trip to the Maldives, you're anxious to go and just don't wanna wait around till you earn that many points, is you can use, venture miles to erase the purchase, or you can do what I like to do a lot is I've done a ton of bank account bonuses. And so I will park my money in a bank and they will, pay me so much to do that for, say, like 90 days. Usually it ranges from 300 to $500, probably the most often, and that kind of offsets some of those costs. And again, too, for me, it's like, okay, I'm trying to meet minimum spend on a card. This is a great way for me to meet minimum spend.
Yeah, and when you like, the Maldives is expensive when you consider that that included all of your food
Mhm. Yes.
and the seaplane transfers, that's really good.
It was a good
Like,
deal.
that for being the Mal and being able to stay in an overwater villa, because as you'll find out later as we keep going, being able to book the overwater villa on points is not always possible. So this is, like, guaranteeing I know I'm getting an overwater villa.
Exactly, and that was important to me because I knew that your dad and I probably weren't gonna go back there,
Yeah.
just because it's so far, and the, Siam World is one of the biggest resorts that there is. It was huge. I mean, we had to use, they had a
Could you
shuttle that
walk the
picked us
island or
up.
no?
No, no. There was a
Okay.
shuttle that picked us up and took us everywhere, and it was really, ran quickly. The service there was incredible. Everybody was happy. They were there to serve us, and they all had a smile on their face all the time, and we know sometimes that we've been to a few resorts where you're like, "I don't know these people wanna be here." Well, these
Yeah.
people did everything they could to make our stay great, and so we had a great time.
Did, what were, like when it says you had one activity included, what kind of activity
It was like
did you
a
do?
sunset cruise or a snorkel safari, and
Oh, did you do snorkel
we
safari?
were gonna book that, but your dad was snorkeling every single day,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
the snorkel was nuts, and so we were
yeah.
thinking, "Why aren't we gonna go on this with a bunch of other people and
Yeah,
snorkel?"
we can
So
just go from our
exactly,
villa.
yeah, so we
Yeah,
did that.
yeah,
So, Alex, tell us that you did use points and miles on
yeah.
your trip. So, tell us about where you stayed and how you did that.
Yeah, so I went in March of 2022, and I stayed at the La Meridian, Maldives. It's a Marriott property, so we booked it with Marriott points, and it opened, I think, in September of 2021, I wanna say, and so when we went in March, it was still really new, and when it came out, it was very low points and was almost like, "Is this too good to be true? I can book an overwater villa for this low of points." And so I waited to kinda see what reviews started coming out like, and then once I heard that people were loving it, I was like, "I gotta go. This is such a great value to be able to book into an overwater villa." So, it has gone up in price now that it's been open longer, but I don't think the prices are too insane, especially for Marriott's dynamic pricing. You can book for peak pricing about it's gonna run you between 60 to 70,000 points a night. Now that's just gonna be the beach villa, which when we went the last day they moved us to the beach villa because our flight didn't leave till later in the day. Beach villa was really, really nice. I mean, I think you gotta do the overwater villa if you're going that far
You
because it's
do.
a completely different experience, but the beach villa was very nice. Off peak, the beach villa is gonna be about 52 to 56,000 points per night. So, if you want to be able to book an overwater villa, you're gonna add about 20,000 points per night to those rates. There's also a lagoon villa, which you can book for about 10,000 more per night. The lagoon villa and the overwater villa, the room is the same. So when we went, the first night they didn't have an overwater villa. We went for 5 nights. So the first night we booked the lagoon villa. And the difference between the overwater and the lagoon villa is the lagoon, the front of the building sits on the beach. So you walk on the beach and then to your doorsteps. But the back of the villa is actually on the water. So you get that overwater feel. It still felt like we were in an overwater villa, I
Well,
thought.
and that's all that matters anyway, because even if you are in an overwater, you're walking off a ramp or something, so you're not really seeing much from
Yeah, and we still
yeah.
had a little bit of a ramp to get down in the water when the tide came in and everything. Um, but so Lagoon Villa, I thought was great. Like if you don't have enough points and you're thinking, "Oh, but I really want to do overwater," Lagoon Villa is great too. Um, the thing that was cool about the overwater villas though is you have the island, and like I said, you can walk the whole island. It is very small. But they have 2 areas of overwater villas on each side of the island, and they kinda just go out into the ocean, but it's just what's kinda fun about the overwater villa is the boardwalk kind of thing. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's the right term, but
Yeah.
it just feels really cool, and then you just have all these buildings kind of just jutting off into the water, so I would do all that you can do to get an overwater villa, but if you can't, Lagoon Villa is still really nice, and you'll get that very similar feel. So, if you wanna go and stay here, what you're gonna wanna do is get Marriott cards. So, just kind of if you go we'll link to our best cards page, but I like to time getting Marriott cards when there's an increased offer because they increase the offer on these cards, I'd say a couple times a year usually about, wouldn't you say, Mom?
Yeah, definitely.
So, you can tell if it's an increased offer by just going to our best cards page, and usually what it will have is, like, the regular bonus will be have a line through it, and then it'll have a different offer above it. So you can know like, "Oh, it's an increased offer." So that's what you're gonna wanna do is get Marriott cards if this is somewhere you wanna stay. The other thing that's nice is you can use your Marriott 50K free night certificates here and top them off if you need to. The only downside to doing this is you can only use the free night certificates on, like, a standard room. So you would only be able to use those for the beach villas. The other nice thing is if you wanted to stay here is you with any Marriott properties, you book 4 nights on points and you get the 5th night free. When we went here, I think the seaplane transfer fee was about $400. It's since gone up to 515, but I would say that's still a lot cheaper compared to some of the others out there. The other downside is you do have to pay resort fees with Marriott. It's not like Hyatt where those are waived, so keep that in mind.
Do you know how much
We
that is, Alex, about?
I don't remember. I wanna say that maybe we spent like $2,000 between seaplane transfer fees, food, and taxes and fees, I think. But we also, like, tried to do it pretty cheaply with the food situation. So we purchased meal plans, and that's the nice thing at most of these resorts in the Maldives. You can purchase a meal plan, and so they have different packages, like a half board, a full board, an all-inclusive package. So we did a half board, and that included breakfast and dinner. So we ate at the buffet, which was really, really good, and that was actually our favorite time of the day. So we'd go over to the main area, have the buffet, take our food out, sit there with our food, and the fresh squeezed orange juice was so good, our crepes, and just look out on the crystal clear waters, eating on the beach, and it was just like, "Wow, I can't believe that we're here right now." It was just kind of surreal. And then our, uh, package included dinner. So for lunch, we actually brought a few snacks from home, and so we would just kinda snack, and we would eat a lot of breakfast, so it kind of worked out. The service, like you said at your place, it was amazing. I felt like the people were so kind. They yeah, they were just so friendly, and there was, like, a warmth to them, I felt like. We had a butler, and he was, like, the cutest little guy ever. Um, we really loved it. We felt like we had the resort to ourselves almost. So we would go out into the ocean and go paddleboarding, and there'd be maybe a couple other people at the beach, a couple people at the pool. We would literally be the only people out in the ocean. It was crazy. And then we went out snorkeling. The snorkeling there was incredible as well. We went kind of far out. They have life jackets and all the snorkeling stuff was included, which was great. And then once we got out to the reef, like further out into the reef, it really drops off. And you just feel like I'm out here in a giant aquarium. This is not my world. I do not belong here. I just felt like a little tiny thing in this big, vast, like, this whole ocean. But it was a really like, the coolest reef I had ever seen, for sure.
That's what your dad said too.
Yeah.
He said that, you go to the reef, the end of and then it just went down, and he said
Yes, it just drops.
he saw, stingray and really big fish, and I'm like, "There's no way I'd go out there, that just freaks me out." So I'm like, "I'll
Yeah,
just stand at and look
yeah.
down in the clear water or snorkel a lot closer."
Yeah, they had buoys out there that were like, "Don't go farther than this," and we went, like, really close to those, and I was like, "Okay, I think this is getting a little freaky. I'm ready to go back in." But it was just really incredible. This, like, Mitch loved it. He's still like, this was his favorite trip we've ever done. The thing that we loved about it too is it's just so relaxing because there's nowhere you have to be. You're on this tiny island. It's not like you have to make an itinerary of here's all the places we've got to go and the things we've got to see. And, like normally when you travel somewhere, you kind of got to make a plan. You literally just show up and do whatever sounds good to you. If you want to just sit and read a book, you read a book. If you want to go to the gym, or
It
go
really is
paddleboarding or snorkeling.
I f Dad and I both felt like it was, like, the most relaxing place you could go. So
Yeah,
if you wanna relax, you
Mitch
know
said he had never felt more relaxed than on that vacation,
yeah,
and I didn't know how he would do because he's kinda like dad where he likes to be busy. He does not want to like, sit and read for forever, but he loved it. So, that was, I think, our favorite thing, though, is it just felt like we had the resort to ourselves almost. And I don't know what, like, the capacity was at the time or anything, but we were there at the peak season, so but yeah, we loved it. I would totally go back there again. And I like it because you do have the option to book into the overwater villa.
that is nice since you don't for so many other places.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us where you had booked but canceled?
Yes. So I had booked the Park Hyatt Maldives. We were going to resort hop. Now, the interesting thing is that these are far enough that we couldn't just take an airplane. I checked into we weren't going to be able to take the seaplane from the first place over to Park Hyatt. We were going to have to go back to Malay and get on another seaplane. So it would have been a little bit of work. But the Park Hyatt Maldives is a category 7, so it's going to cost either 25,000 points, 30,000 points, or 30 or 35,000 points. And I think that for us, it was the 35K because it was peak time. And it is amazing when you look at the pricing. 35K peak pricing, that's just nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing. Now you can't, again, like you said, book right into an overwater villa on award, redemptions. I think that I would be fine not staying in an overwater villa if it was my 2nd time, or if
Yeah.
I could stay half and half or something, I like to at least that's just kind of part of the Maldives, and so you kind of wanna do that at least for part of your stay. The nice thing about this is there are so many cards that earn Chase Ultimate Rewards or Hyatt points. The cards that earn Chase Ultimate Rewards, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, the Reserve, the business cards, all of those transfer into Hyatt. So there's a ton of ways to earn plenty of points for staying at a Hyatt in the Maldives. Like I said, I had heard I think Alex is gonna talk about the Alila Maldives next, and I had the hardest time trying to decide. I actually booked the Alila Maldives first and then changed it to the Park Hyatt Maldives only because I knew your dad wanted to do a lot of snorkeling, and it's been there longer, so it has an older reef, and I figured it probably had more excursions and stuff. Because otherwise, I would have booked the Alila Maldives, which you're gonna talk about.
Yeah, so the Alila is also a category 7. It's also a Hyatt property, so your Chase Ultimate Rewards or Hyatt points can get you nights there. It's a brand new hotel. So that is the perk in itself is you're staying somewhere that's really new and nice, which we love. Same thing though, you can't book right into the overwater villa on points, but the standard beach villa includes its own private pool too. So, I mean, I looked at the pictures here. I know some people who've been here. It looks beautiful. And I definitely plan on going here, and if I can't get an overwater villa, then, so be it. It'll still be a great trip and we'll love it, but I really, really wanna go here sometime. I have heard of people, though, being upgraded to an overwater villa if they have globalist status. The downside is you can't use your sweet upgrade awards here or the Park Hyatt. So, that's a bummer because I'd be like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll just save a sweet upgrade award for my overwater villa." But that's not an option. I don't know if it's possible to, I know with Hilton, you can sometimes pay on top of, if there's availability, you can pay, a week or 2 before you go to confirm an overwater villa. I don't think I don't know if Hyatt has that. I actually tried to message and, like, talk to Hyatt to figure out the exact details, and I did not get through to the right person because they were like, "No, this is your only option," and I'm like, "Really? Like, if it's just sitting there and not being used, I couldn't pay more money on top of my points to get it?" So, I don't know the exact answer there, but I would definitely maybe talk to the hotel directly. to see if that could be a possibility, but I plan to go there someday, so whenever I make it, I have no clue when that will be. I will report.
You know, the other thing, if you're going there for a special occasion, you're going there for a honeymoon, you're going there for an anniversary, a birthday or something, always reach out to the resorts and let them know that you have a special occasion coming up, and sometimes that pulls a little bit more weight in you getting upgraded to a better room and maybe even an overwater villa.
Yeah, great tip. Another place you can use some points at is the Hilton Conrad Maldives. This is kind of where I always thought I would go when I went to the Maldives because this is one that I see a lot of people go visit with their Hilton points. Um, but then the Meridian came out and I was like, well, this is way less points than Hilton. And it was not too hard to find availability. So it can be tricky to find availability at the Hilton Conrad Maldives, but you can use Hilton's calendar and see the whole year and just keep checking back. So 120,000 points per night at standard pricing, which is pretty wild compared to the pricing of even the Marriott and especially the Hyatt, but that's just how Hilton rolls. Um, but the nice thing is those free night certificates, you can use them here. That's what's really cool about Hilton's free night certificates is there's not a cap. As long as there's a standard room, you can use those. So I would definitely recommend using a free night certificate here. You know, if there's a great offer on a Hilton card, you can stack those free night certificates with your points. Um, if you want to stay here, definitely just going to want to get some Hilton cards and time those up with some limited time best offers. Amex membership rewards do transfer to Hilton 2 to 1. I mean, 1 to 2. So you could, top off an account if you need to. Like Marriott, you get the fifth night free on award stays. So that does help things. This pricing is for the beach villa. But like I said before, you can potentially get upgraded to an overwater villa with status. And it's not too hard to get status with Hilton. If you just have the Hilton Aspire card, which is their top tier card, you'll get Hilton Diamond status, which I would highly recommend you have gold or diamond status when you go here, because then you'll get free breakfast. And that's going to be a huge savings because, like I said before, food in Maldives is not cheap. So, um, and also, like I said, they'll sometimes let you pay more in cash to get upgraded to that overwater villa. I feel like I've heard people have pretty good success for getting upgraded here. Um, but the thing is though too is like you never really know. The only way to guarantee yourself an overwater villa is to book it from the get go. So that kind of puts a little bit of limits on where you can use your points. I'm pretty sure like most of the other Marriott properties in the Maldives let you book on points for the overwater villas too. You're just looking at a lot of points. Le Meridian is the cheapest of the ones or one of the cheapest and it's still really nice. So that's that's why we did that one. So anyway, yeah. What do you think now, Mom? Let's talk a little bit just to wrap things up. We've both been to Maldives. We've both been to Bora Bora, and a lot of people kind of wonder, which should I do? How do these compare? So what do you think?
Well, I think you kind of know what I think because I had said after my
Well, I
first.
just wonder if you still think that. So
Okay.
when we went to Bora Bora, my mom and I and my sister Casey in November of last year of 20 November 2022. And my mom was team Bora Bora. I was team Maldives. But I'm just wondering if anything's changed since then because I know this resort you stayed at was a lot nicer than
Right,
your last one.
right. That does make it better, and I think that if, I was younger, it's a little hard on this old body traveling that far.
I'm asking you at the wrong time because you're
You
still
are.
dealing with
I'm
your jet
still
lag.
fighting jet lag.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is that, if I was younger, I wouldn't have so much trouble getting past jet lag.
Yeah.
So that makes it definitely more difficult. I'll tell you, by the time I get to the resort in the Maldives, from flying all the way over to Malay, waiting for the, seaplane, doing the seaplane. I am so tired
I was
that
so
it's
tired
hard to
too.
make anything. I mean, it is amazing. The Maldives is a bucket list, incredible thing. I 100% am so glad that I went there, and I would definitely do it one time. Now to coming back a 3rd time, and even my husband said, "I loved it, it was amazing, but that's too far to travel." And so we were talking about, yeah, we'd probably, if we wanted to do that again, we'd go to Bora Bora, Fiji, Tahiti, somewhere where it's not quite so long to travel, and that is the big con for me, is
So are
just
you
that it
saying
takes
that
so
you're
long.
probably not going back?
No, I don't think I'll go back. And there's other
You know
places.
what?
Now
I'm smiling because I'm thinking she'll go back.
no, I won't, but I wanna
Yes,
go to
because there's
I wanna
gonna
go
be a
back to
deal or
I wanna go back
something.
to Thailand, and there's some other
Yeah.
places, and I'm
But
just
if I
realizing that
message you and said, "Mom, I found this really great deal and these
never
flights,"
say
and
never when it comes to
right?
half. One of the things that I
Pam
really
gets FOMO, she wouldn't wanna miss out.
I
If I said,
know,
"We're doing a travel hacking mom retreat to Maldives, Mom."
if you and Jess were going, I'd be like, "Well, I can't let them go by themselves. I
Can't let
gotta
them
go."
have all the fun without me.
Exactly. So one of the things that's really nice about the Maldives is there are so many more hotel options. It's limited in, Bora Bora. There is, not that many places. You have a ton of options, a ton of places where you can use your points and miles. That is a huge pro. I think they are both beautiful. I think, definitely I'd say the service that I experienced in the Maldives was better than what we got at the, uh Conrad Bora Bora, because I think that was that one place where we kept saying, "Do these people wanna work here?" You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, it was very, like some people were fantastic and amazing and so lovely, and other people
Yes.
you were like, "Sheesh, am I annoying them for asking if I can eat dinner here tonight?"
Yes, yes. So and the food in Bora Bora there at least was crazy expensive for very little, so
Yeah,
there's pros and cons to both. I think for me, and just being older, it's just that length of time and the recovery
yeah,
that it gives me now.
yeah. I felt like Maldives felt a little more exotic to me than Bora Bora did, but I don't know, and it felt more remote, and it felt more private. I felt like there was more people, and it felt more like I was at a resort.
Well, I think that it's where you went, because
Yeah,
you really didn't see anybody at the La Meridia.
yeah, I didn't.
See, at both of my resorts, I saw more people, so to me, those were
It
all
felt the
yeah,
same.
it felt the same. So a lot of that depends. The other thing is that was such a dream destination for you, and when you finally get to that place, you kind of become team Maldives
Oh,
or,
for sure. Yeah,
that is hard. It's really hard for someone to
yeah,
sway you, so no one's gonna sway
for
Alex
sure.
from
Like, if I'd
Maldives
maybe
being
gone to
better.
yeah, if I'd maybe gone to Bora Bora first, maybe I would have been like, "Oh, Bora Bora is amazing."
Yeah.
But we also had rain in Bora Bora,
We
and
did.
Maldives
That
was
didn't help.
beautiful. We didn't have 1 drop of rain. It was just really cool, but yeah, Bora Bora is way easier to get to. It's what, an 8-hour flight from San
Mhm.
Francisco?
Yeah.
Well, you fly to Tahiti, you stay the night, then you fly to whatever, but we actually have a whole podcast episode on Bora Bora, so if somebody wants to hear all about that stay, they can scroll back towards it's a little more of one of our earlier episodes, but
One
yeah.
thing for sure, you're gonna have the best time of your life, whichever place you go to, and I just thank my lucky stars that I've been able to go to both those places. I never in my life thought that I could travel to those kind of places or anywhere that I've been able to travel, and if it wasn't for points and miles, it never would have happened.
Agreed, 100%.
Well, we hope that you've all enjoyed today's episode. If your dream vacation is the Maldives, we hope that after listening, it feels a little more attainable. And if you're interested in earning points for a vacation like this, make sure to check out our best cards page, which we've linked in the show notes.
Thanks so much for listening to the Travel Hacking Mom Show. Make sure to hit the subscribe or follow button from wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. Want to start jet setting even faster? Follow the links in the show notes to learn about everything we discussed in today's episode. And to stay connected and follow along, follow us on Instagram at Travel Hacking Mom. We can't wait to see where in the world points and miles take you.